Aloha, I'm Ho'oipo Kalaina Oal. I'm here for the Native Hawaiian Cultural Trademark Study. We're here to get information from Mililani on what she thinks is important for us to consider in trying to build a Hawaiian cultural trademark program. Mili, can you start by telling us what you think we need to know?
Okay. Aloha, everyone. I wanted to thank Ho'oipo for all of the work that she has done to bring about the conference, and also to send my aloha to my colleagues, Rebecca Sosi and Maui Solomon, who have come to join us. I'm very happy to be able to participate in this conference, because I believe that the issues that we're looking at now, issues of trademark for the protection of Hawaiian artists, is a very appropriate, significant, and very important issue.
Okay, well, recently our community did that Pa'okalani Declaration, and it seems like there were some foundational elements in there that would be helpful, that we should know when we're building this program.
Yes.
Do you recall? Can you recall them?
Yes, the Pa'okalani Declaration, the Palapala Pa'okalani, it came out in 2003 as the outcome of the first Ka'ahapono Hawaiian Conference on Traditional Knowledge. What the Palapala Pa'okalani is it's the cultural framework to provide all Hawaiians with a guidance when we begin to look at areas that our kupuna were not schooled in traditionally. So in traditional times, we did not have cultural trademark, patenting. We also didn't have things like the human genome, genetic modification, and people trying to say that they owned and were going to patent life forms like the kalo. The Palapala Pa'okalani gives us the cultural framework. It takes us all the way back to the Kumulipo. It reminds us about our cultural values. It reminds us what the koko, what the blood means to our genealogical history. And it shows us that there is a basis for saying, no, we don't want Hawaiian blood to be taken from our people to be used for speculative purposes with genetic studies of other human beings. Blood was not treated in that way. The Palapala Pa'okalani also gives us some framework to look at patenting, copyrighted, and trademark issues. In the case of patenting, the Palapala Pa'okalani prohibits and is opposed to patenting. However, if you read the document, it says that Hawaiians must now work to come up with processes to deal with these challenges. So you may not like patenting, you may feel that it's not Hawaiian, but we can't just say, ole no, we don't like it. There are patents that have been given out, and we have to address those problems. Maybe trademark was not part of our traditional culture, but today our Hawaiian artists, performing and graphic artists, need to compete in a commercial world, and we need to support them, and we need to help them to ensure that their authentic Hawaiian art is respected and protected as authentic Hawaiian art. So I think the thing is we look at the Palapala Pa'okalani as the papa, the foundation that advises us as we make these decisions. But we as Hawaiians must holomua and go ahead. We live in a modern world, and it's time that we take a look at how we can utilize cultural trademark to protect our cultural knowledge and support our Hawaiian artists. One thing that I think that we should mention is that we need to develop an approach that is a sui generis approach, which is a legal Latin kind of a word that means there's not one mold for everyone in the world. There's an approach that fits you and your people and your circumstance, and that is called sui generis approach. And I say this because we need to meet our people's cultural needs and our artists' needs. And I'm concerned with some of the problems that I've seen occur on the continent with the Native American Indian legislation. We are going to have a problem. How are we going to maintain the trademark? Who polices the trademark? What do we do when we have an unscrupulous person, possibly in another country of the world, coming out saying, I'm an authentic Hawaiian, and this is an authentic carving, and selling a piece of junk for $10,000, or flooding the market with cheap replicas? How do we deal with it? It has to be policed. When we look at the federal legislation up on the continent, sure, there's a statute protecting Indians, but no one seems to be enforcing the statute. And also, I'm concerned that Hawaiians define who is a Hawaiian. We don't want to have our Hawaiian artists somehow lumped into federal legislation, which is Indian, Alaska Native, and Hawaiian, and suddenly everything we're doing as Hawaiians has to conform to what the Indians are doing. We're not Indians. So we need a sui generis approach for Hawaii and our artists, but we will have to struggle with this issue. How are we really going to enforce and protect the trademark? Who's going to pay for it and who's going to do it?
That's right, because in our program, I guess Leighton was thinking that we would like to get some funding from Office of Foreign Affairs or from the state, and even the artists in the survey said they felt that that money was appropriately would be made to the program.
I think one other thing to mention, and that is that trademark is not going to resolve all of our problems. For instance, we all know that the Hawaii market and the global market has been flooded with cheap fakes. Now, a trademark, cultural trademark, is not going to stop that. There are still going to be a lot of cheap fakes, whether we're talking about a koa, a carving, or a painting. But what it will do is it will tell the consumer that these cheap fakes are fake. And it will tell the consumer, if you really want something that's authentic, and here's a Hawaiian definition of what that word means, it will point them in the correct direction. It will be a weather vane to what is authentically Hawaiian art. But it doesn't remove from the market thousands of cheap carvings and fakes that are all over the market in Asia and all over Waikiki. You could see it right now in Waikiki or Lahaina. That's going to be a problem that will continue, but at least they won't be able to pretend that it's Hawaiian.
We got to decide who's going to be the person to decide who the masters are, what's authentic, and should it be organizations that decide, or should it be individuals that decide?
You know, these are the kinds of things that I am hoping we'll have a full discussion on at the conference. But my sense is that I'm inclined to follow and trust the Hawaiian community. When it comes to Hawaiian carving with wood, I trust those who know the business, and they're the Hawaiian carvers who work with wood. When it comes to graphic artists or fiber artists, we're not going to be following the directives of the carvers. But this is also our cultural way, that those who had the knowledge, that those who had the experience understood the protocols and actually had the protocols and the cultural practice incorporated into their artwork. Those were the ones that were really the masters. I am worried that there may be some areas where the kupunas have passed and we have not preserved it. But in terms of graphic artists, even performing artists, musicians, carvers, I think that we have great, that's right, poets, we have great talent here, and we need to just follow our cultural way. You know, nana ike kumu, we would look to the source.
Mahalo. Thank you, Mililani, for your contribution to our conference.
Thanks for having me.